Okay, Mercedes W203, I am going to be adding a hardwiring in a fuse to hook my GPS up without having to plug it into a cigarette lighter socket. And, well, there's not really an option to do it on the fuse box inside the car because that's a SAM unit that's got power going to it. That's like a little computer controlled lighting relay module. There's nothing there that is not switched, that's ignition switched, because it's got power to it all the time. Every circuit there has power. So you have to go under the hood to find power that is switched with the ignition. And number 47, which one is it? This one right here, this 15 amp one. Number 47 is the cigarette lighter or cigar lighter or auxiliary port, whatever you want to call it. That one's switched, and that's the one we're going to be using. And it's got a nice little access back there underneath. So I've left that cover off on the inside because we can get back into there. And I'm just going to be tapping into that. So I'll show you what I'm doing in a few minutes. Okay, so what I'm using for this is a double. It plugs into your cigarette lighter outlet. I got this at like I don't know, like some clearance place. They're like $2. I got a couple a little while ago. Oh, looks like I stepped on this one or something. Doesn't matter, this end's getting cut off anyway. And that's exactly what I did to this one. They're both going to be hooked up to positive and negative. So you're going to have two plug-ins. I'm going to use one for my GPS and one for my dash cam. And so this is the second one, I've taken it apart and basically stripped back the wires. These are the negatives, these are the positives. The positives will always go into the little centerpiece in the middle, and the negatives will always be the outer wall. So that's one thing you do have to remember. And then I'm going to use an add fuse, which is just going to add into that fuse number 47, which is the cigar lighter fuse. This is going to plug in there. The regular fuse is going to plug into the bottom, and the new fuse is going to plug into the top. So it's still going to be a fused number 47. The outlet is still going to be fused, and then these are going to be fused separately. So nothing is going to get hurt from that. I just have to snip this off and then solder those on. Back in 1 second because I haven't... yeah, where's my snippers? Hold on 1 second. Back in 1 second. Okay, so I don't like these crimp connectors. If I don't have to use them, I don't. I'd prefer these shrink and solder connectors. They simply slip on over. And which one was positive? Positive I'd twisted together. So I'm going to twist those together. Slide the connector over. And then, using a lighter, which is what most people are going to use, that's going to heat the solder in the middle and also shrink the shrink wrap. And there's also glue in there that will glue the whole thing together, and it's going to be strong as a gorilla. And it takes a few seconds for that solder. Just don't hold it in one place. You can use a heat gun, you can use a soldering iron. Most people are probably going to use a lighter. But again, just don't hold it in one spot for too long. You'll notice when the solder in the middle, it'll start to spread out. It'll just all of a sudden start to get smaller, and then poosh, it'll expand and you'll see it just wick its way into all the wiring. Come on. As I said, it does take a second. There it goes. So that's a nice tight soldered connection there, and it's also glued and shrink wrapped all in one. So I'm going to do the negative side as well. I'm going to use a piece of brown wire because Mercedes uses brown for ground. I might as well use the same thing, and I'm going to put an eye connector, a little bolt, eye bolt connector on there so I can use this for a ground. So I'm going to solder this onto this end, solder this to the other end, and back in a second. Okay, a couple minutes later, this is what I'm left with. I've got the two plug-in connections. The positives are both hooked up to this fuse, and the both negatives are hooked up to this terminal, which is going to connect to the wiring bundle underneath the hood where all the grounds go to. So you basically just got a positive and a negative, and the positive is the fused terminal under the hood. And we're going to stuff that in from the fuse box. This is going to go under the dash, where the fuse box, the hood fuse box, connects under the dashboard. And I'll show you that in a minute. So we'll go back to the car and be there in 2 seconds. Okay, before we do the final hookup, we're going to test number 47 again. 4-switch power. So right now, keys are out, ignition's off. And I'm going to test with a voltmeter, number 47. And it is showing, going to the ohm scale. This is a power probe. It just automatically switches back and forth. So it's telling me there is nothing, there's no power there. So I've turned the ignition on, and we're going to test that same circuit. And it's showing 12.1 volts. So that is a switched circuit. That's what we're looking for. Now make sure before you pull any fuses or do anything on any of these W203, any Mercedes, let's just assume any car. Let's do that, any car. If you're gonna pull a fuse from any car, take your keys out of your ignition, just for the hell of it. Keys out of the ignition, just take them out. Just in case, because with computer-controlled cars now, putting the key in the ignition starts a whole series of things that go on and tells the computers to turn this circuit on, that circuit on, turn this, make this ready, blah, blah, blah. So just take your keys out just to be safe. So now we're going to unplug. I'm going to have to get a pair of needle nose because my fingers are not that small. And this is the ground we're going to use for the ground right here. So we're going to snake it out of the fuse box somewhere. I think I'm just going to run it through this little wire channel here that plugs into the side. I'm going to feed the wire through this rubber wiring loom. I'm going to snake it through there. Actually, I'll do that. I'll snake it through this rubber wiring loom and out to here, and I'll be back when I'm ready to bolt that on. Back in a second. Okay, well, I hooked up that brown wire, went through the wiring loom there, and I'm just going to pop the 15 amp fuse out of number 47. It's a 15. Pop it into, oops, and then a 15 amp as well for the GPS and whatever else, probably the dash cam that I'm using. Oops, they're a little tight in there. Come on. There we go. And this is just going to simply pop in. Move these wires aside. Pop in where the old fuse went. And then we'll have, it might fit easier this direction. Yeah, I think it does. In. So now you can see it, there's these two 15 amp fuses are laying sideways over top, and it's plugged down into there. There's the negative, it's going back through this loom into here, and now I'm going to feed this through underneath. It's kind of hard to see back through under there, but if you see back, straight kind of back where I'm pointing underneath this windshield wiper arm, if you reach back you'll feel some foam. It goes back into the back by the fuse box by the driver's side. Anyway, I'm going to tuck those under there. I'll be back in a second. Okay, about 15 minutes later, that's how long it took to fish these things through. I just got them zip tied up here so you can see them because they keep flopping down. And I pulled the front fuse panel, a little screw off so I could get down. I can get my hand back in there and pull them through. I also pulled the lower dash panel down, 2 screws to just easily reach back in there and get it. There's a couple of pieces of insulation to worm your fingers around and get back there and get in, but it's no big deal. Anyway, now I've got 2 switched accessory plugs that I can either block off. I mean, obviously you can block them off if you don't want to use them, or use them for GPS or whatever, and you can route that wherever you want in the car, through the dashboard, up through wherever, anywhere you want. Anyway, thanks for watching. Okay, so my GPS is the only thing I've got hooked up right now and plugged in, so I'm just going to turn on the key and we'll make sure that it comes on with the car. And there we go. So power on with ignition, which is what we wanted. Thanks for watching.